A very good morning to you this lovely Monday, the 15th of April 2019. I trust your week has begun on a positive note. My name is Zainab Ismail and you're watching NTV today. Now, President Uhuru Kenyatta is set to preside over the official opening of the 4th Annual Legislative Summit in Kisumu County. This will be the first time the annual summit will be held outside Mombasa after delegates resolved to rotate it in the spirit of devolution. Now, ODM leader Raila Odinga will also address the summit on Tuesday, and Deputy President William Ruto will be at the closing ceremony on Wednesday. More than 4,000 delegates, who include county assembly speakers, senators, and even ward representatives from the 47 regional governments, are expected to attend the event. Now, the summit will assess progress made in legislations that support the entrenchment of devolution and identify gaps and challenges in legislation. And we have our reporters Kennedy Mureithi and Oko Kusa on the ground to bring us to speed with what will be happening in Kisumu throughout the entire session until Wednesday. We'll also have Gabriel Mudhuma, our political analyst, in studio to put some of these issues into perspective. We'll also have our reporters and correspondents across the other counties just to give us a feel of what is happening in their counties. And we're going to begin with Kevin Mutai, who is in Mombasa County. A very good morning to you, Kevin. What can you tell us from Mombasa?
Well, good morning to you, to Zainab. We are live from Mombasa in our studio, and we have quite a number of stories lined up on our diary. Today, one that is making headlines is the 12 Nepalese women who were arrested yesterday and are currently under detention in Nyali police station. This is an investigation that is still active, and police say that they are after all of those involved in what they term as a sex syndicate. This is something that happened at the wee hours of Sunday morning, and investigations that are being conducted by detectives from different police service, from different disciplines, and they're saying that it is something that will be able to uncover what could even be a human trafficking syndicate that is happening in Mombasa. All that we have it covered for you. And of course, also another thing that we are covering in Mombasa is the installation of an LPG gas station in Liwatoni, Mombasa. There are various controversies surrounding this particular project, and we have received some concerns raised by different institutions, among them the KPA, that is the Kenya Ports Authority, questioning why NEMET, the National Environment Management Authority, gave a go-ahead for this particular project that is supposed to be constructed in Liwatoni. We also have all that covered for you. We'll be able to be talking to residents, some of them who are against the project, some of course supporting the project. We'll have all that for you. And of course, also without forgetting the political arena in the coastal region. Remember, recently the Kotu Secretary General Francis Otwoli was in Lamu, where he stated that the name of the Deputy President William Ruto will not appear in the ballot paper for the 2022 presidential elections. This is something that has elicited a lot of reactions, with of course leaders and supporters of the DP coming out clearly to slam Otwoli for such kind of remarks. With recently the leader of majority in the National Assembly, that is Honorable Haden Duale, was here in Mombasa, and of course gave his stand on those particular sentiments. We are still covering all that for you, and we will be updating our viewers on what will be happening. And of course, we are also falling on another sad story, whereby a student at Pwani University, that is in Kilifi County, was stabbed several times by the boyfriend. We are told that Naomi Chepkemoi is nursing serious injuries at Kilifi Referral Hospital following the attack that occurred yesterday. Henry Kipkoech, who is the boyfriend, is under custody, and police are investigating the circumstances under which he attacked Naomi Chepkemoi. Police are saying that they're following leads that might lead to something that might give them proper information in regards to that particular issue. But we are told that the victim, or rather the suspect, attacked Naomi while she was still at his house in Mkwajuni area, that is in around Kilifi area, and but still the investigation, as I said, is still going on, and we'll also be following all that for you. Zainab, that is just a number of a few stories that we are covering from you for our viewers from Mombasa, and we will be updating them as soon as we have other details cropping up from this region. Back to you, Zainab.
All right, Kevin, and of course we'll be linking up with you for more details on some of of those stories that you are covering. We are going to now link up with our reporter from Migori, Bernard Ojwang. Bernard, a very good morning to you. We understand that operations at the Sony Sugar Company have stalled due to a worker strike. What is happening? What is the situation at this point?
Oh, well, thank you very much. Actually, we are outside at agriculture offices here. And remember, it is now 2 weeks since over 2,000 employees, Sony Sugar employees down there to demanding their pays close to 100 million shillings. They are saying that some of them have gone to
All right, unfortunately, we've lost there, Bernard, quite a bit of a sound hitch there. We'll be linking up with Bernard for more details on that. We understand that the Sony Sugar Company has been closed down for 2 weeks now, and he'll be giving us an update on the situation on the ground and what is to be done. We also understand that the Migori governor will be presiding we'll be going to the Sony Sugar Company to understand what the situation is. We'll be linking up with Bernard in just a moment. But before that, and in other stories that are making headlines, God and politics often come together, especially on a day when the politicians take over the pulpit. Now, Deputy President William Ruto particularly loves Sundays. He will rarely miss a Sunday service and has been supporting a number of church projects. With his eye on 2022, could he be hoping to win the support of the millions of church faithful, or is it just about worship? Kennedy Muredi explores.
Deputy President William Ruto attends church services regardless of the denomination. Sunday morning, he joined the Salvation Army in Kakamega. He has acknowledged the church since his election in 2013. Ruto, who is currently facing a movement keen on blocking his ascent to the presidency, continues to cut a niche for himself by directly engaging the electorate. Each Sunday, the DP attends a church service, sometimes in 2 different churches. He then supports various projects through his contributions in the fundraisers.
Mimi nitawapatia shilingi milioni 5.
In Kakamega, Ruto made a contribution of 5 million shillings towards the construction of a Salvation Army guest house with a further pledge if required.
Mimi nimejitolea kwamba sitaaibika kuwa mshirika na Wakristo kwa maneno ya Mwenyezi Mungu.
His style has attracted condemnation from politicians in the opposition and some in Jubilee. Opposition leaders Raila Odinga and Musalia Mudavadi have led the pack in calling on the church to reject the gifts.
Nikitoka kule na nimechukua sanduku la wenyewe limejaa nguo, nikimbie niingie hapa kwa kanisa, mutanisukuma nje na museme we don't want to be associated with you because you are handling stolen goods. Peleka hizo nguo ambao umeiba huko nje. Je, nikikuja na briefcase imejaa pesa, mtanifukuza?
Wagalatia 6 na mstari wa 9 na 10 inasema msichoke kutenda mema, na 10 inasema pale mnapopata nafasi watendee watu wote mema. Lakini inasema lakini zaidi kwa wale wa nyumba ya imani.
Ruto has remained adamant and says he will continue donating to the church.
Matthew 6:33 inasema tafuteni kwanza ufalme wa Mungu na haki yake, na haya mambo mengine yote mtafanya nini? Mtaongezewa. Si ndivyo Biblia inasema? So hawa watu wengine wanahangaika maneno mingi, wajue sisi kama Wakristo tuko na siri, na siri ni kutafuta kwanza ufalme wa Mungu na haki yake. Haya mambo mengine yote tutapata.
In January, during the installation of Bishop Philip Anyolo, the DP gifted the bishop a vehicle that later caused a storm, leading to its return. He has donated money to the conventional churches such as the Catholic Church, where the Cardinal John Jue himself has received the donation. He has also donated money to the Seventh-day Adventists, where he attended a Harambe in Kisii, and to the Salvation Army, where he was the chief guest on Sunday in Kakamega.
Mashindano vikundi ni viwili. Kuna wale wanaomwamini Mungu na kuna wale wanaoamini uganga na uchawi. Hiyo ndio the difference.
Religious groupings in the country have millions of followers, and they gather every Sunday or Saturday. Could this be a calculated move by the DP, or is he genuine in the recent declaration?
When I am done with what I am doing at the moment, I will go back to being an evangelist that I was.
The DP has also paid for the Bible to be translated into a number of vernacular languages.
Will be preached to
Kennedy Muredi, NTV.
Well, away from that, 2 Cuban doctors who were abducted from Mandera on Friday are still missing, and the government is now putting together a multi-agency operation to bring them back. At the same time, Somali elders from Kenya are currently engaging with their counterparts in Somalia in a bid to find leads on the doctors' whereabouts. NTV's Seth Olale has our update.
3 days after doctors Acel Herrera Correa and Landy Rodriguez from Cuba were taken on gunpoint from Mandera by suspected Al-Shabaab militants, the government is putting together a security team made up of officers from different agencies to find them. Mandera town has been on lockdown as the search for the 2 doctors intensifies. This is according to Northeastern Regional Commissioner Mohammed Birik, who is coordinating the operation. The security officers are drawn from the Anti-Terrorism Police Unit, Rapid Deployment Unit, Rural Border Control Unit, General Service Police Unit, Administrative Police, Regular Police, and Kenya Defence Forces Commandos from the Long Range Surveillance Unit. The search, which has been extended to Somalia's neighboring border town of Bulahawa, situated approximately 30 kilometers from the Kenya-Somalia border, has been boosted by the introduction of the elite military wing from the 1KR Battalion and additional KDF helicopters from the Air Cavalry Battalion. Security agencies are conducting swoops in Mandera town and its environs, hunting down adults without valid identification documents and vehicles with fake registration numbers. The town is now deserted as locals opt to stay away from the streets. Even though the government has ruled out negotiating with the militants who took the 2 doctors or paying for their ransoms, our sources tell us that a group of elders have been in talks with their counterparts from Somalia at the border town of Bulahawa, asking that they cooperate with security agencies.
Waweze kusaidiana na sisi, tuweze kuomba hawa watu ambao wamewachukua, waweze kurudisha hawa watu kwa sababu hawana hatia, hawajamdhuru mtu, wako hapa kusaidia umma yetu katika town hii.
So far, police have arrested a driver attached to the county government and who was with the doctors when they were abducted. His mobile phone has been confiscated and sent to the DCI headquarters for analysis that will help investigators establish if he was in contact with the attackers or any of their collaborators. Seth Olale, NTV.
All right, and away from that report there by Seth Olale, let's now head to Migori County, where we have our Bernard Juang back. And Bernard, a very good morning to you. What is the situation from that county with regards to the Sony Sugar Company?
Well, thank you very much. I was telling you that we are here at a window at Sony Sugar Company. We are just right outside the agriculture offices. Remember what's going on here? It's now 2 weeks since over 2,000 employees were down their tools, demanding close to 100 million shillings. With some saying that they have gone up to 4 months without pay. Despite that, they have bills to pay. They have children to take care of. And of course, people who are expected here today, we are expecting Migori County Governor. Remember, initially the farmers, even the Migori County government have been pleading with the national government to ensure that this company be handed over to county government since agriculture is devolved. Remember, this is one of the economic backbones in this region. And currently, as we speak, since it was shut down here, the economy in Awendo town has been affected seriously. And of course, we'll be waiting to hear from Migori County Governor who will be here. As we speak, apart from farmers, apart from workers, farmers have also joined this demonstration. They are saying that they are demanding also their pay, with some saying that currently the schools will be opened and they will be having no money to take their children to school. And remember, we will be here to wait from the governor. At least the governor will be addressing farmers here. Just tell us, why do they think that if Sony Sugar is handed over to county government, will solve this issue? Remember, farmers have also been asking the government through the Minister of Agriculture at least to waive all the bills. Remember, Sony Sugar Company is said to be having close to 2.5 billion shillings debt. And recently we've been seeing cases whereby Sony Sugar trucks, Sony Sugar vans, tractors being auctioned here over debts. And remember, we'll be here. We are waiting for the governor. We'll be talking to union officials. Just tell us what's their next step. Are they willing to come back to work, or they will the situation will be still like this until they get their pay? Back to you.
All right, thank you so much, Bernardo Juang. Then, of course, we'll also be linking up with him during the course of this live broadcast to get a feel of what is happening and the situation on the ground there. From this point, let's now link up to Kennedy Mureithi, who is in Kisumu County, where President Uhuru Kenyatta is expected to preside over the official opening of the 4th Annual Legislative Summit. A very good morning to you, Kennedy. What can you tell us from that summit?
Well, thank you very much, Zainab. And we're coming to you live from the land of fish. We've been eating fish since yesterday when we came here, and it's actually delicious. We had some at the seashore, and what we've had is really nice. And the heat is quite so much. But what we can tell you right now, unfortunately, we also do understand that President Uhuru Kenyatta may not attend this opening ceremony for this particular legislative summit. And we are looking to see who will be sent to open this particular forum on his behalf. But what do we know so far is that members of the county assembly, together with their speakers, and the Senate will be coming to probably exchange ideas in what has been there for the last 4 years, or for the last 6 years since devolution, but it has been 4 years since this legislative summit started. And they will be trying to assess devolution and how far they've been able to get with regards to trying to enhance devolution and entrench it in the country, and everything else that has been happening. And we do know that there are some issues that they would really have wanted President Uhuru Kenyatta to address. Remember, some time back, they actually tried to call on President Uhuru Kenyatta to even give them grants like members of the National Assembly and members of the Senate receive. And it has been demands by demands every year. So we'll be looking to see what is it that they will be looking towards this particular year, and what is the probable agenda they would like to be passing to President Uhuru Kenyatta. We'll be speaking to some of the members of the county assembly, their speakers, and members of the Senate, trying to understand deeply what is happening. One of the issues that we do know so far, Zainab, is that also the members of county assembly have been agitating to have their own money not separated from the executive, because they do believe that the executive has been using the money that is forwarded to them as a dangling carrot, and that has actually hampered what they call oversight, because they do say that once money comes from the executive, or their money once it is sent from the exchequer and it is coming to the county assemblies, it has to go through the executive. Then it is the executive that apportions money that goes to the assembly. So they do say that this is a matter that needs to change immediately, because some of the times when they do not agree with the executive, what happens is that the executive does not give money to the assembly. So I'm joined by some speakers here. I'm joined by the speaker of Nandi, just to try and contextualize what is happening and what do we want to achieve at the end of this summit. It's the fourth one. What are the milestones so far? What have we achieved, and what do we aim to achieve with this particular one?
Thank you so much. My name is Joshua Kipto, Speaker Nandi. We are in our fourth annual legislative summit, which is anchoring this particular process into the devolution story. This journey began 2013 when we had the devolved system of administration coming into place. And the past three summits has always been taking stock of the legislative role of the county assemblies. One of the biggest things that the assemblies have been dealing with is to brand themselves into a position of being seen as institutions capable of carrying out oversight. Because when you talk about the devolution story, the media and every other person always just centers the story around the Council of Governors and the governors outside the county system. Very small consideration has been given to the legislative process. So this particular annual legislative summit is basically text talk. And you've asked a very good question. What can we say has been achieved? Number one, institutionalization of the assemblies. We come from a place where the assembly started from scratch in 2013. And by 2017, they were able to achieve basics like having financial autonomy. We haven't hit yet there, but at least as an assembly, we run a budget, we run a system, we have staff, the MCAs are facilitated. You see us coming for this event. We come discuss our core roles: legislation, oversight, and representation. Now, the main thing that I can be said is the capacity of the assemblies has been improving. We haven't hit the level where the national legislative process is, but we can say we are 60% there. There's still work need to be done. For this particular summit, we are keen to understand things like revenue sharing, the revenue allocation formula, because the assemblies are the ones that deal with budget process. Previously, the assemblies were purely dependent on the county executive in charge of finance. But now, in this particular forum, we want to anchor it and say it is our respective role. It is our job. We need to declassify. We want to understand how can we ensure equitable distribution of the resources, but importantly, real development. For that to happen, the assemblies only need to ask the question about how we doing our oversight role to the level expected of the public. And that is why we are here in this summit, to take stock, look at the hits and misses. I'm sure you've seen one of the things the assembly struggle with is image. Quite a number of times, the few clips that are shown about the assemblies is an MCA fighting. We've seen the case of Kiambu County Assembly, the other day Meru County Assembly. That's another thing really we need to stamp it out. Because Kenyans out there, when they hear county assemblies, the first thing they see, these are oversized councillors who are only used to throwing fists here there. Now, this particular conference, the level of organization, the nature of engagement should take that discussion to that level where we say, next time, let Kenyans see us as people who can legislate. We can undertake oversight, not the people who fight over mess, not the people who fight over positions, not the people who exchange fists in a honorable house. That is the main thing why we're here.
Well, talking about and sticking with this issue about the image, also there has been the question of the quality of members of the county assembly that are chosen. It is even thought that some of the people who come into these county assemblies are just cronies of the political party bosses. And thus, nothing constructive is actually happening. And they're not looking at the assembly as a place where they can legislate, but they're looking at the assembly as somewhere where they can just chill and eat money as they wait to see what they can do after 5 years. And probably that's one of the biggest mistakes. How do we contend to deal with this?
I have two answers for that. Number one, we are in a democratic system. And when it comes to democracy, the voter or the citizen is king. That is the person deciding. And I'm sure you understand the peculiar nature of our voters in the country. Whatever they decide about someone who to represent them, you can't very much change that. However, the second answer to that would be, that was the case in 2013. When we were transitioning from the local authorities to the county assemblies, the quality wasn't as good. And that's why you had a really serious problem about image, 13 to 17. But post-2017, the first 5 years of devolution made the public realize that the work of an MCA is not the councillor they used to know. There is now real legislation needs to be done. There's real oversight, because before 2013, money that was distributed to the counties was very little. The local authorities control around 2.5%. Now we are controlling 30% of the revenue. You expect people who understand the magnitude of that money. So on the bit of the quality, that has changed. If I can use my assembly, Nandi County Assembly, you'll be surprised to see that in my assembly, half of my MCAs are graduate. The other half, in fact, I have up to 7 or so MCAs with masters. So the quality has improved. However, it's a question of projecting the same image to the public. The only image that comes out is the bad stories. We need now to start having good stories. And we can only have good stories if we are able to showcase what we actually do. That is a media house, you can come to Nandi County and ask us a very simple question. Where are the implementation reports? Where are the reports telling us what work has been done, what work has not been done? So the issue of the quality is work in progress. We have to contend with democracy, but at the same time, intensive civic education to the public when it comes to the voting cycle. They need to understand. They need to understand that going forward, if a referendum is to happen, you are pushing for 40% county allocation. If you have 40% of your money at the county, definitely you need the quality of MCAs at the level of the members of parliament. Otherwise, we will not achieve. And that's why you would see we are still grappling with the image issue. So I will give ourselves 55 to 60%, but there's still room to improve. If we can get it to 75, I feel we should be okay, because that is where the limit comes in. And it begins with the media, it begins with the public. They need to see what work we do, but importantly, for us to do that, we need quality people. We are getting that in a few, but going to the next election cycle, can we improve from 17? 13 was a bit lower, 17 was an improvement, 22 should be even better.
Well, there's this question that you've actually even tackled a bit of it, and that is the autonomy. You want autonomy from the executive. You want your own money. You want to manage it in a whole way. And we have seen even the Auditor General's report, and there has been a serious indictment on the county assemblies with regards to the usage of money. One of the things that has been even cited is the traveling, is the usage of seating allowance and all this, and some trivial things that actually even the Auditor General has mentioned. Are you at a place that you would say that you really need autonomy, or do you still need some schooling from the executive?
I can answer that. In 2013, when we started, the budget was still one. County Executive County Assembly had one vote head. There were no two vote heads. And the danger with that is that we are being micromanaged. You couldn't have an assembly oversight the executive. How do you oversight someone who holds the purse? It is just a simple rule. Who pays the piper is the one who calls the tune. That was the case. However, the challenge at that time was, do the county assemblies have capacity to manage their resources? For 5 years, that was the story. However, when the county revenue allocation, whatever, when CRA, COB, and Auditor General accepted to give the assemblies the money, although the CC Finance still has to sign our requisition, something interesting you will realize. If you look at our Auditor General's report from 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, every single year has been improvement. Our financial discipline has come with the autonomy. That if I can ask you, if I can challenge you to pick the Auditor General's report of 15, 16 compared to 17, 18, you'd see the difference. The grappling is like any other government institution. No one can go and say that they have a clean audit report. Rarely. Even the national government that has been in existence for 45 years. County assemblies in 5 years, we have reduced the issues to be justification. For example, how do we justify the travels we do? Now, there's a circular that was issued to the assemblies where they were being told, for you to take out your members abroad, can you justify if such a training cannot be found locally? Number two, they have capped the number. Now, those controls help us. But for us to be able to get there, we still need to have absolute control in terms of, at the moment, we control our money. We are audited as an assembly. Funny enough, people forget that the Auditor General audits us independently from the executive. The only thing remaining, we should stop going to the CC Finance to have our requisition signed. If we are audited ourselves as an assembly, why then don't we be given the chance to be able to requisition on our own, let us be audited on our own, and let us account for our own. And then the queries that come along, they are the things we are going to get. I can surprise you, in our cluster, not Rift cluster, Kericho County Assembly was given a clean bill of health. Nandi County Assembly, if you look at the audit queries that were raised, there are only a few justifications. When I came in, there are a lot of queries. But if you look at the progress we've made, over the years, we keep improving. So I don't think denying us that autonomy would be an answer to the problem. The issue is, to whom much responsibility given, much expectation is expected. So for us, if you give us the autonomy that we have so far, except that we need the signing, then we should go further, ensure that we account for our money.
You've been making demands all along. Are there any demands that we look to the government, probably? Are there some demands that you would want the government to meet with regards to county assemblies and how we can improve them?
The main demand is we need absolute financial autonomy. There's only one bit remaining. Can we be given the chance to requisition directly through our clerks to the COB, to the central bank, and get our money? That's the first demand. The second demand, we just want more or less alignment of welfare of the MCAs to be same standards as the MPs. For example, there are things we're asking for. This time, we're not going to shout car grants and all those kind of things. We want to be systematic. We are engaging SRC in a more mature policy way. And one of the things we're asking are simple things like pension. If an MCA has gone for the 2 terms, that MCA qualifies to get pension, just like a member of parliament. If it's about remuneration, let's look at it differently. Can we justify based on our work? Can we look at our work? Can we do more or less like appraisal? And that's what we have told CRM. That's what we've told SRC. Unlike last time when we would come and shout, the demands we are making now, it is policy-based, it is organized, and I'm sure as a media you can see MCAs have changed. Previously, the president would come and would shout him down. The DP would come, we shout him down. Car grant. But this time we are more organized. We want a justification. And we give reasons. Let me give an example. If we say we want a car grant, it will be on the basis that we have the money ourselves. We are not telling the exchequer to give us. Because the assembly, surprisingly, unlike the National Assembly, have managed to have car and mortgage running for 5 years, that when we came in the second term, we had our own money, we gave them, they repay back. And for them, unlike the National Assembly, if you look at our basis, we ask for security and we deduct by 5 years over, we are done. So we are making demands with solutions from our end.
Well, Zainab, some of the discussions and some of the demands that we'll be seeing, probably they will be coming, and they are saying that they want some autonomy, they want some trust from government, and here say that he who is given much, much is expected from. But also there is Senator Zani, who plays an oversight role, and Senate is the house that actually looks into what the county assemblies are doing. Is there an improvement? I see that the theme of this year is assessing the far that we've come, and have the county assemblies been able to make that step that we have expected them to make? Are they there?
It's accelerating devolution. So what we're saying is that already devolution has kicked off. But as you know, in any process, and as you know, in the 2010 Constitution, as even the devolution phases were envisaged, when it comes to the practical implementation, there'll always be gaps, there'll always be things that you will see. For example, now we're looking at issues like on-source revenue and feeling this is something that needs a lot of focus at the moment. We're looking at the CRA revenue formula that we're also going to discuss. So as we move on, it's never a static process, it never ends. So we're looking at what we have achieved so far, but looking at the gaps and trying to see whether we need to come in through legislation, we need to come in through the roles of other stakeholders and players in terms of devolution to address these issues. So the theme is accelerating development, assessing the progress and addressing the gaps in policy and legislation. So today we expect a lot of input in terms of the legislation, looking at the various issues. What do we need to do? Where are the county assemblies? As you might know, this summit, the legislative summit, gives the legislature in the country, specifically the Senate and the county assemblies, a chance to exchange notes, find out where are we regarding particular matters and how do we move forward. And what are the gaps and what are the hitches? Really looking to see what are the hitches and how to address those hitches. That's very key.
You've spoken about something very important, and this is with regards to the legislation. And there's a time that the Senate was quite concerned with the county assemblies and the quality of laws that is coming from the county assemblies. When we are looking at legislation, and probably as you've been able to assess through the Senate and all that, are we improving with regards to the quality of bills or the quality of laws that are coming from the assemblies?
I think there have been very many changes within the county assemblies, even starting with the format of the assemblies, beginning with the first phase of devolution and the second phase. A lot of also interaction, capacity building at both levels, at the Senate and at the county assemblies, and an interaction. We also have very many bills that are cascaded, for example, from Senate into the county assembly. So what they'll do is take this bill and cascade it for their specific circumstances. Most of the bills, if you look at the county bills, are touching on issues within the counties. For example, if we look at the flags and emblems bill, if we look at bills that look at how to structure the county, the pavements in the county, for example, county statistic bill, county attorney bill, so that we can actually, most of the bills are looking at a process that was centralized and trying to zero it down now and come to a county level. So most of these bills and a number of these bills are looking at national bills and cascading them now to counties. For example, having a county attorney, for example, having county statistics unit, for example, having processes within the counties that can be tackled at the county level. So most of these processes now have become clear over time. And you might understand and know that when we began, it was a phase and it was a whole sphere of understanding what devolution was. Now more people have understood, more people have begun to see where we want to go, what direction we want to take, and more input is being put into that. And I'm sure at the 5th Annual Legislative Summit, we'll still have other issues coming. We'll now be looking at further gaps. We'll be looking at maybe new processes. We'll be looking at maybe some of the issues that have been put into place. For example, like now we have issues of revenue within the counties, and we are realizing that the money that is going to the counties is not enough to develop those counties. And on-source revenue is becoming a big thing and a big issue. So maybe in the next legislative summit, we'll be looking at a situation where, yes, maybe we have more resource, but then how do we continue to unlock? So it's a continuous process, very, very educative, very, very useful process, I think, in terms of actually putting everything together to ensure devolution works.
Just before I let you go and introduce somebody else, do you think that it is time that one of the things they're agitating for is financial autonomy? Do you think that it is time that we give county assemblies financial autonomy? Are they at that point whereby they can actually manage the resources that they are given in a prudent manner?
I think it's about systems, and in many cases we've put systems across the board. You will remember that some time back we put a system, for example, of ceilings at the county levels to ensure that the money that is going to counties is handled and should not go beyond specific ceilings. We're also coming up with ward administration and distribution funds so that we can actually find ways that your ward can still be developed regardless of the machinations that can happen at the county level. We are also looking at ways to ensure that counties are empowered. And one way of doing that is for them to have their own CBK operational account where they can have means and they can have access and they can be able to plan, and that will give them a level of autonomy that is very, very critical. What we need to be careful about, ensure about, is that that autonomy also creates transparency. That this is the money, this is how it is being spent, and this is how it's moving forward. Because I think at the end of that day, what people want to be able to do is to know what are the funds that have come in, how have they been spent, what projects have they been spent on. And now we're moving more and more towards a redistributive policy for development in the wards. Certain counties, for example, have moved forward with this, almost like where everybody meets together and decides the development that is going to be done per ward. What we don't want is to have marginalization within devolution, so that you find some wards are not able to progress because they have inadequacy of funds, or they're not able to have the funds that are needed for them to actualize the projects in there. Devolution was brought to equalize societies. It was brought about to actually be a redistributive process of resources, both economic and social resources, hospitals, education, water. And that's what we are moving towards. So that is a big step in that direction.
Well, the last one is your colleagues, senators, have actually also been accused of probably giving this forum a wide berth. Why so?
I think they haven't. We are at about 10 o'clock, quarter to 10. The Speaker of the Senate is coming here shortly with the host of senators. This is the most important legislative agenda we have in an annual calendar. The room and the hall will be full very shortly. Of course, we started earlier so that we could have the entertainment and get everybody into the mood. We are kicking off. We have a very, very important agenda for this day. And I'm sure we have great panelists also lined up who are going to give us a way forward as we go back to the pre-summit events and coming up with our resolutions. And even these resolutions move us to 2020 in terms of what is expected. So we'll be reviewing this again at the 2020 legislature and having a mechanism ourselves to oversight ourselves, if you may, to see where have we gone. I think the devolution agenda is far too big and too important, you know, for all of us as Kenyans, and we have to do everything that we have to do within our means to ensure that it is actualized to its maximum.
Thank you very much, Senator. Well, probably those are some of the things that we'll be looking to see whether they will be addressed at this particular forum. And also, one of the things that they have said is that they are really trying to deal with this image issue. And one of the counties that we've seen also fighting, one of the recent counties is Kiambu. And right now, I'm joined by the Speaker of Kiambu County, Stephen Disho, and probably to address this issue about image. The Kiambu County Assembly was seen the other day trying to fight about money and disbursement of funds. Probably, how are we trying to address this, and probably is it something that could have been averted if there were consultations between the members of the County Assembly?
Well, I think there's a wrong misconception, Mr. Mureithi, about that, what happened in Kiambu 2 weeks ago. It was nothing to do, it had nothing to do with the, it had nothing to do with the supplementary budget. It had nothing to do with the registration. It had absolutely nothing to do with what we do, the business we do in that house. These were personal matters that just emerged on the floor of the house. And when I realized that what has happened, I suspended the house for 2 hours, for 20 minutes. And when everything came down, we came back and we continued to transact business. But out there, people thought that we were fighting because of money, because of supplementary budget, because of other things. But these were just personal matters. And as a speaker, I took appropriate action to bring down the matter, and it was sorted out. It came to an end. After 20 minutes, the house came back, and we transacted business.
Then there are also these accusations that probably there's a disconnect between the members, what they want and what the speakers want, because even the members have been accused of trying to twist the speaker into giving them trips even when they are not deserved. You, as the custodian of the money that goes to the county assemblies, how are you able to deal with this issue?
Well, in Kiambu, we have got a very nice system. We have planned those who are traveling, either for workshops within the country, and where need be. And we have a foreign trip, for example. There's a system, there's no struggle. We have a system who is going, if it is, for example, about agriculture, and it's about going to Israel. The first priority is the Agriculture Committee, and livestock, and fisheries. If it's about ICT, we look the destination with better ICT studies, and we send members there. If it's something to do with administration or management, we look for that destination, and we send people there. And of late, we have established Arusha as one very good destination, which is taught by ESAMI, the East and Southern Africa Management Institute, which has got a holistic training and management provisions for all members. And we take people there, members there, and they study well. So there's no war, there's no nothing.
Thank you very much, Speaker. And probably these are some of the issues that we'll be seeing, that they will be talking about with regards to how they can come together and exchange ideas and improve the quality of work that is done in the county assemblies. And one of the things that we've also noticed is the fact that the county assemblies have also come under sharp scrutiny when it comes to issues of disbursement of funds. Remember, about a week ago, there was an uproar over some money that had been appropriated to the Nairobi governor, about 96 million in confidential budget. And this question had been asked, why was this money set aside? As also some county assembly members are being accused of just trying to pass budgets without having looked deeper into what is there and how that money is going to be used. So these questions are arising. And from here, because there are some people who have been brought to teach them and also to have discussions with them, the county assembly members, the speakers, and also the Senate are expecting that probably at the end of it all, they'll have learned a thing or two with regards to devolution and how they can carry forward this issue about devolution. Right now, I go back to you, Zainab, in studio, as we go around this particular area to see what is being offered and what the county assemblies are offering. Because outside there, we've seen tents from all the 47 county assemblies as they try to showcase what is there and what they have to offer. Right now, it's back to you, Zainab, in studio.
All right, thank you so much, Kennedy Muredi, there from Kisumu County, where the 4th annual Legislative Summit is happening. And of course, we'll be linking with him later on, as well as Oko Kusa, who's also there in attendance. You know, we're also joined by Gabriel Muzuma, our political analyst. Thank you so much for making the time for us. Kennedy is saying the president might not make it. That would be quite a bummer.
I know. It's something that we started reading yesterday, that he'll show up, but you know, we do not know what happened.
Exactly.
So I think we have to wait and see.
Fantastic.
But by the way, something very important though, we need to wait and see who he sends. I think that will also be quite...
would that mean something?
That will, actually it will. It will.
Quite a lot.
Yes.
All right. So a lot of talk on something that keeps coming up in the conversations that even Kennedy Muredi has been having with the leaders there is on the state of autonomy in terms of financial autonomy for the county assemblies. What do you think of that?
By the way, simply, let me start from, you know, there's somebody who had seen this some time back, and this was the former, the former Chief Justice. Yes. And you may recall there was a time Willie Mutunga was telling lawyers, I think he was in a place where he was speaking to a group of legal, legal people, and he told them, you know, the place you want to start, if you really are looking for development, the place you want to start is becoming MCAs. And people were like, hey, at that time, many people did not understand, but what really, you know, and Zani came out very clearly when she talked, I think she's brought it home when she said something like, you know, it's not much about the financial autonomy, it's the systems. What do you have in place? You know, is the county able to set up a fiscal policy? Are they able to follow through in that discipline? What system do they have in place? If really you don't have anything in place and you're looking for financial autonomy, it may come, but then what? But then what? What will you do?
So that's just asking a little bit for too much without having the proper mechanisms in place.
Totally. So that, in fact, that should be the borderline. What systems do you have in place before we start talking about the county autonomy? Yes, I would like counties to be able to draw up their plans, and it's captured very well when you're talking about the economic county development plan. It's actually, when you look at the integrated development plan, it's captured in the section 108 of the County Development Act. So when you're talking about having own source, county own source economies, when you're talking about building viability in counties, when you're talking about the projects that they need to initiate, the first thing that must come to play, yes, where does the money come from? And if you have the money, how do you plan for that money? What strategies do you put in place? Who are your advisors? Who are you bringing in to build the developments that you're talking about? And then there comes now what the likes of Zani are talking about when you talk about the systems and the labors and the resource that you require, comes a very critical part, which is, if you do not have that money in place, where do you go? If the government is not able to give you those fundings, where do you go? And this is where the private partnership comes in. So this is actually, the forum is an amazing place because it's a showcase for counties. And this is what we've been demanding out of our counties. If there are economies, if there are projects that you're not able to get funding from the government, as there will be. I mean, the government cannot fund everything in your county, in your respective counties. So where do you get this money? This is where now you need to enter into partnerships with people who are seeing the viability of the project and the development plan that you have. So this is not something you just, of course, this is not something you just wake up and you start thinking on top of your head. What are you going to do? And that's why, when it comes to county governance, I really like this topic because it shows how many counties or which counties are actually heading, in the right direction, and those really that are going to stagnate. And, when you have counties that are telling you, 80% or 90% of the money we get goes to recurrent expenditure and paying salaries, you start asking yourself, fellows, what systems do you have in place? What is your economic plan? How are you going to do your own source and funding? Because that is the true meaning of devolution.
Gabriel, listen to this. And this debate was sparked yesterday by the County Assemblies Forum Chairman, John Osoi, when he said in the current situation, the assemblies were not able to independently and effectively oversight county executives. He said as long as this continues, the executives will always have the power to manipulate the MCAs and decide how they should do their work.
Now, the only problem with that issue is most of these executives, where do they pass? they pass through the county legislation. I mean, from county speakers to all these people are grilled. So if there is somebody who has the political muscle, it's really the governor. And if they are going to allow their loyalty to be purchased like we have seen, then they cannot cry foul. You have a front row to interview these people, to see what they are bringing on board. You know, the county executive, I mean, yes, the governor, just like the way the president does with the cabinet, but the cabinet must go through a censorship through parliament. Same thing happens. Now, if you pass the wrong people, or people who are allied to you, if you pass them through these executive positions, then expect, you know, what the kind of
the chairman is saying.
what the chairman is saying. And that is not only that, we don't see that really only happening in the county assemblies.
In the counties, it's also
we've seen also senators where you ask, where did the senator of this particular county go? What is happening? You know, when you hear governors spending all these kinds of money, and they are, you know, those are some of the few things which I think are really taking us back to positions where we are not supposed to be. But one thing I'm liking really is that you know, these county assemblies are becoming of age. I've liked the fact that the previous interviewee or
the Nandi speaker, the Nandi County Assembly speaker.
Yeah, you know, he talked about his respective county, and he said that the number of people who are graduates.
Quite a number of PhDs.
Exactly. That, you see, that is where we want. We want people who can hold it. We want people who can do. We want people who are able to show that there is something that we can do in this respective country in matters, mainly development. Remember, I told you earlier on, it is very hard for you to get outside support when you're talking about private partnership if you don't have a good strategic, well-founded paper that you're going to sell to, you know, to would-be investors. So that necessarily tells you that there has to be a group of people who believe in the direction not only of that particular county, but also the governor. The people who are going to be deep core touching on matters finances must actually be above board. So more than the systems, more than the implementation, more than anything else, we must also see, or we must also look into the kind of deliverables and timelines that these counties must have. A failure to which I was telling somebody, it's going to be very easy, very hard for us actually to say that counties are going to be viable.
All right. And Gabriel will come back to that. We'll also be taking a look at the county revenue allocation formula that had been proposed, as well as a report from the Controller of Budget. Let's take a short break. We'll be back. Welcome back and thank you so much for staying with us. Our focus today is in the lakeside city of Kisumu. And this is where the 4th Annual Legislative Summit is taking place. And we have Oko Kusa live from there reporting for us. So Oko Kusa, very good morning to you. What can you tell us from that summit?
Well, Zainab, of course, there are a lot of things that I can tell you for now, but I'll just try to tell you more about the delegates that are coming in. Remember, we have more than 4,000 delegates who are expected to attend this particular summit. We are talking of ward representatives from all over the 47 regional governments. Those are the county governments. And of course, we also have senators and members of parliament and even speakers of the county assemblies attending this particular summit, which is supposed to run from actually 13th to 18th. Today we were expecting the president to open this summit officially, but we are getting mixed signals that he might not actually come. And we are also expecting we are also expecting the deputy president, that is William Ruto, to be here tomorrow, the day after tomorrow, and of course tomorrow is the opposition leader Raila Odinga, who is supposed to preside over the sessions tomorrow. But just next to me here is one of the delegates. We're just gonna feel from her what she expects, what her expectations are, and if this particular summit, which has been going on for the last 3 years, but this is the first time actually is being held outside Mombasa. Remember, for the last 3 summits it has been going on in Mombasa, but this is the delegates felt that it should be rotational and decided that this time around they should also hold it somewhere else apart from Mombasa. So this is one of the delegates here. She'll tell us her name and maybe share with us her expectations.
My name is Cynthia Mutere. I'm a member of the County Assembly of Busia. We're excited about the Legislative Summit coming into the region. Of course, very many expectations. We had, as the first time, second session of the County Assembly, we had our meeting in Mombasa. So yesterday we had a women's pre-summit where we have conclusions that we're going to be presenting this morning. Of course, we have a program for the whole week. We're expecting the president this morning. But one of the key things that county assemblies are looking at is their own source revenues, how to raise that and not being dependent on what's coming from the national government. And so that's going to be a key thing, to see strategies and seeing ways to do that. And so we're looking forward to be listening to the presentations that are going to be coming and to see how we're going to move forward with those.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Let's hear from another gentleman, please. Okay. How are you, sir?
Fine.
Just start by introducing yourself and tell us what are your expectations as a delegate.
Kwa majina anaitwa Mheshimiwa Emmanuel Waswa Simi, kiwa kiongozi wa wachache katika bunge la Trans Nzoia. Kwa leo nimekuja hapa na malengo yale natarajia kuonekana. Nataka nione hii muungano wetu kwa kuhusu maneno ya legislation, tuwe na usawa na counties vile national inafanya. Pia natarajia kama rais anakuja, zile pesa walipunguza, wana mikakati gani ya hizo pesa zirudi, kwa sababu tunajua wanasema wana support devolution, lakini ninapoangalia kindani national government bado wanafinya county government. Kwa hivyo leo natarajia rais atakuzia yale masuala ambayo yanaweza jenga devolution ifikie, ili kazi iendelee kuwa nyepesi kwa wale wananchi wako mashinani. Asante.
Naitwa Mheshimiwa Mlipuko kutoka Kabumboi, kaunti ya Trans Nzoia. Tuko hapa katika summit hii, lakini tungelipenda kuona kwamba maseneta pamoja na wajumbe wa kaunti tupewa mwelekeo wa kufanya hii kazi, kwa sababu kule mashinani imekuwa kazi ngumu sana. Kazi yote imebaki na executive. Kienda huko chini wananchi wanalia wakiona MCA wameona kila kitu na MCA hana hata pesa. Kwa hivyo leo tunataka kama inawezekana watupatie ward development fund, si wenyewe tuweze kuimanage kama vile wabunge wana manage mambo ya CDF. Lakini imekuwa ni kazi ngumu leo, kila mara tumekuwa Mombasa kwa mkutano kama huu, ni mambo ni yale yale. Leo hatutaki story bana. Tunataka rais akuwe na msimamo, atoe mwelekeo. Kama ni wajumbe wa county tupewe pesa tufanye kazi, kuliko kuja hapa tunachukua pesa mingi wa Kenya tunaenda mashinani the same story. So tunaomba kwamba maseneta pamoja na rais watupatie mwelekeo wa sheria ambayo ilienda bungeni, tuwe na ward development fund, tuwe na ili tufanye kazi.
Okay. Sasa wacha tusikie kutoka kwa mama. Just introduce yourself first and then you tell us what are some of the expectations that are really get attending this particular summit.
Okay, mimi ni Mheshimiwa Karo from Trans Nzoia County. Mimi ni Mheshimiwa Karo from Trans Nzoia County nominated MCA. Chenye natarajia hapa ni nominated MCAs. Sisi nasi tupewe ofisi kwa sababu we are all MCAs, we are equal. Tupewe ofisi na pia we need equal we need equal
Sasa besides that tunaelezwa kwamba President Uhuru Kenyatta atafika hapa pengine leo na kufungua hii summit kirasmi. Pengine kama delegate ungetarajia president aguzie mambo kama gani?
Mimi natarajia rais wetu wa Kenya MCAs tupewe zile pesa ambazo alituakiza at first, kwa sababu alisema atatupea pesa zile grants. Up to now hatujapewa, na sisi ndio tuko ground, tuko chini mashinani, tunafanya kazi na those people wale wenye wako grassroots wanatuhitaji. So we need ili to boost and then we do what? Tusaidie watu wetu. Yeah, na tumai rais wetu wa Kenya atatusaidia na atasikia malalamishi yetu. Yeah.
Asante sana. Let's hear from this gentleman here. Just start by introducing yourself, sir.
I'm Mheshimiwa Gesa Obogo John. I serve the interest of the people of Nangina Ward, Funyula Sub-County, Busia County. I'm a member of the Budget and Appropriation Committee. I happen to enjoy the privilege of serving as a chair for the committee in the first regime 2013-2017 and also the first chair basically what we are saying is that we cannot run away from the fact that Busia County in terms of revenue collection, it has dropped. It has dropped, and this one has necessitated our fair share from the national government to drop by 525 million. That means that the budget we are undertaking today, we are on the fiscal strategy paper, we are already working with a budget of a deficit of 525 million. In nature, and basically that one says that the services that the people of Busia were expecting are likely to drop. However, as a county and as a committee, we put measures in place. Because initially, we entirely relied on a single business permit. That was the major source of revenue. But today you have the evaluation role. The evaluation role in nature now gives the county an upper hand to collect over 1.something billion shillings from the 400 million that we have been collecting. Two measures have also been put in place. Remember, we inherited staffs from the defunct local government, of which not all of them are competent. And the practices in the defunct local government, as it's known, was marred by corruption. So as a county, measures have been put in place. His Excellency the Governor has already recruited the enforcement officers to ensure that checks and balances are put on the revenue collection. Also, we have the cess bill. A number of bills have been passed by the Assembly to ensure that we are able to collect revenue from each and every person who enjoys the services of Busia.
Okay, so how do you expect, I mean, what are some of your recommendations as far as the usage of these particular revenues are concerned? How prudent can they be used so that we don't see what has been happening in the past, where there's a lot of mismanagement as far as revenue is concerned, mismanagement of revenue in the county is concerned?
First and foremost, as a Kenyan and as a leader, and as a person who lives in Busia, each and one of us is supposed to be responsible enough. Responsible, and then two, we have recommended automation so that we don't allow money to exchange hands from one person to the other. And that is why in a week ago, His Excellency the Governor launched the pay bill so that the users, the businessmen, are now able to pay money straight to the treasury, unlike it was, where money is given to an individual, and then he also uses his own ways. Like the single business permit. Yes. Like the single business permits in Busia, we've been experiencing a very funny incident where one single business permit serves almost 50 shops. It's just scanned and spread across all the shops. These are the gaps that we are trying to fill so that we ensure it's done. We are also putting up, we want to come up with a law as an act of the Assembly to ensure that any of us, be it an MCA, be it that county government worker, who is suspected to be taking part in mismanaging the public resources. It's just taken straight to court.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, that is fine. Thank you, sir. Thank you very much. Well, Zainab, those are some of the views from the county members of the county assemblies from various parts of the country. Remember, there are a total of 47 counties, and all the ward representatives from all those 47 counties are attending this particular summit. This is the 4th annual legislative summit, and as you've heard from some of the delegates here, the expectations, they want the revenue, that is commission of that is commission on revenue allocation, which has proposed a raft of issues regarding the revenue collection and management. And of course, we also we understand that this year alone, the Commission on Revenue Authority had recommended an increase of 300. The increase of shares, equitable share to counties from 314 billion shillings to 336 billion shillings for the year 2019-2020, and those are some of the issues that are going. We expect to feature in today's discussions that will be going on in the plenaries, and also in the main hall where the President Uhuru Kenyatta is expected to open this summit officially today. But as I mentioned there, we are getting mixed signals. It's not very clear whether he'll be coming, but we've seen a host of dignitaries coming, streaming in, including the Senate Speaker, that is the former governor of Bungoma and Lusaka, and of course a number of members of parliament and senators, and a lot of delegates coming in from all over the country to attend this summit, which is supposed to end on 18th. Started just on Saturday 13th with the pre-summit, and of course today and tomorrow and the day after tomorrow we'll be having those sessions that will be attended by those dignitaries I've mentioned there. Raila Odinga expected tomorrow, and of course the Deputy President expected to close it on Wednesday. Back to you, Zainab.
All right, thank you so much, Okukusa, there, and a lot of reactions, especially from leaders from the area. And remember, the summit comes at a time when fresh reports by the Controller of Budget as well as that of the Auditor General have come out, and they've placed MCAs on the spot of a wastage. I'll tell you this, a report by the COB Chair Agnes Odhiambo covering the first 6 months of the current financial year indicates that a majority of the 47 county assemblies increased committee allowances for MCAs by about 157%, with most of it going to allowances. So you're asking yourself, are MCAs untenable when it comes to spending revenue?
You see, and I think that's the discussion we've been having, through and through, and we've been wondering, okay, MCAs are paid, what you call a salary, and then there's still these, monies that they are paid for every sitting, the sitting allowances, if you will, and that has been actually on the incremental. I think, Zainab,
and this is just to point out, this is also in the Auditor General's report, which said they are pocketing millions of shillings
so much money
under sitting allowance.
Now add on top of that, add their travel allowances, countries that they are going
entertainment
to.
Allowance.
Entertainment. The reports, like somebody said, they are going on these many trips. They are not seeing, we are, if you're going for all these so many foreign trips, then you would expect a very significant change in your respective county. That is not what is happening. And, just listening to is it the Deputy Governor of Kiambu? That they've put a mechanism where before you travel, they know who's traveling, where you're traveling. It's a good thing, but still, you've not really answered why all this international travel is necessary when you have counties that are really struggling. It does not make sense. To me personally, it does not add up. And that's why I think we still have a very huge gap we need to fill. And this gap that I keep talking about when it comes to matters governance is asking ourselves, this is an elective seat, all right? You're elected by the people to represent the people, okay? It is more of a selfless need where you come in to deal with the issues of the people, not generally to self-gratification. So this is something I think most people who are looking for elective seats have not really gotten. To me, it is you're given the mandate by the people. It is an honor, Zainab, to serve, not a career, right? When your time is done, you pat yourself the back and you say, I've been there, I've done my best.
What legacy have I left?
Exactly. And you say, you know what? I hope the best man who comes, or the best woman who comes after me will do better. But at least you have served your people. This issue of service versus career, of where everything has to be, you know, gratifying to you, I think it's something we need to run away from. As even the people who vote these leaders, these are some of the questions, and these are some of the attributes that we have to put in front of them when we are electing them.
And this is where the issue of image and perception then comes in, and the quality of MCAs who are elected into, you know, those positions. And we had Kennedy Mureithi talking to some of the leaders, and they're saying they are changing that. But then look at it in this way: the perception that if you're an MCA, you're in there to get and earn money, sort of like a money-making venture, you know.
Totally, and that's why I'm saying we've never gotten it. You see, Zainab, if we were a country that was minting lots of billions worth of dollars in matters production, Kenya was a first world country, or so to speak. Those trips, you know, Wanjiko, me and you will care less. I mean, these guys are doing great for this nation. They are able to bring our economy, you know, to be at par with the, you know, the first world economies of this world. So they want a holiday for take it. We will not have an issue. But as a struggling economy, where our regional partners have actually bolted, we are actually trying to play catch with countries like Ethiopia, countries like Rwanda. And here we have legislators voted by the people who are still, you know, playing the cat and mouse game when it comes to gratification financially, so to speak. It sends actually a very wrong message. And that is why you're seeing people angered or angry by some of the things that are going, you know, on in this country. So when a summit like this happens, much of what we would expect, you've had a good case about Busia, where this gentleman has actually told us this is the amount of money we were losing when it comes to, systems that we had put in place, but we are not able to collect more. So what does that tell you? As a county, he actually said that they are sitting down to look at mechanisms of how to improve, you know, collection, which is a very good thing. Other than that, they are still looking on how to continue creating their own source, collections or revenue, which is, I mean, if I was asked, this should be.
How far do you think we are, you know, as county governments being able to generate its own revenue? How far do you think?
Zainab, we are very far. And I'm not saying this because I am, you know, just throwing the spanner into the works. No, I think we are still far, because the first thing we need to realize is how do you create your own source, revenue. It is not something like I told you earlier on. It's not something you wake up one day on top of your head and say, okay, this. No, it is something you plan. Okay, it requires you bringing other elements of people to show you what challenges first of all exist, what risks exist, how are we going, you know, to mitigate them, and then most importantly, once you've done that, you go back to the initial part where you looked at the opportunities within the counties or within your respective county as a governor with your team. You see, there are so many opportunities that we can harness in this county for us to be able to bring revenue. So once you're able to do that, you craft a very good strategy, one that you can even sell outside. And that's when we started bringing in the case of private partnership. When you have a core, it's more like running your own business. When you have a core business plan and a core business agenda, which you know is going to create money for you, I mean, you throw everything at it, the energy, so I believe we may be far, but it's the speed of our imagination that needs to be invoked.
Right.
Once we are able to do that, Zainab, there are so many countries that Nairobi to begin with. I mean, look at what Makueni governor is doing. What is he trying to show us? That this is doable.
It can actually happen.
Governor Kirinyaga, what is she trying to this is doable. She's done it. Or she could be in the right direction. You have governors who have actually duly noted that you can do several things to shape the outlook that we have on other counties. But yet, similarly, at the same time, you have counties you wonder, will they sustain? Will they be in the next 5 years? Will these counties be there?
Nairobi County, 96 million shillings put aside for mysterious project.
And then you're told this is us to buy tea and I don't know what, bread.
I tell you,
you see, I mean, it's
some of the challenges that we're facing. Let's talk about the new revenue sharing formula, which has been proposed by the Commission of Revenue Allocation. It is going to be among the issues that will feature highly in this particular summit. Just talk to us about how is it really going to work and is it viable?
Now, already you can see there are people who are already reading malice on it. Now, the formula may look good when you talk about them putting a huge chunk on things like agriculture and healthcare. That notwithstanding, those are key components of the Big Four agenda, and that can be understood. But when you talk about the devolved functions, that's where you're going to allocate it. I think the issue you see is where do you leave the arid counties? And they are already starting, to read.
In fact, they've come out, leaders from the northern Kenya saying they're being discriminated and it's being unfair.
Because you don't have what you'd call a huge footprint when it comes to agriculture. And that's why, one governor is saying we will be losing almost 10 billion. All right. But more than that, yes, that could be the formula. I know it will create, the heat like we are seeing here and there. I would not really give it a bad stamp, really, because the semi-arid can actually be told to engage in activities that can receive potential monies to look into agriculture. But then again, you brought exactly. Now, I think that is where we have to balance things. That's where we have to balance things. I don't know. I really follow that debate very keenly because I want to see what is going to be the break-off point. What's the takeaway point? Because it is good thing. It's a good thing when you're talking about agriculture, which is food security, which we know very well. Look at where our country is vis-a-vis the countries that are our neighbors. We are not doing good in matters health. We are not doing good in matters agriculture. So they are actually quite handy and touchy issues at this point. And if they are going to get the huge chunk of the revenue allocation, so be it. But then again, it will be. I have to wait and see. We have to wait and see
because
how
they're saying it's going to balance inequalities in terms of resource distribution.
I still do not see it, and that's why I'm saying we have to follow it very keenly. Actually, we are going to be glued to the TVs today to try and follow it. I wish I had time; we would have probably traveled to Kisumu. I want really to see the break-off point. Where do you leave, these semi-arid regions which do not have a lot of devolved functions, of what you've said that the people who receive the huge chunk are the devolved functions in healthcare and agriculture getting the huge chunk. So we have to wait and see how will they balance it out. But again, I really do not want to stamp off that formula. I know probably at in the long run it will work better for this country.
What do you think of the implications on the national budget?
You see, my only worry, and again, Zainab, I'm glad we are having this conversation. There is something that must be done with the defunct former administrations. Many governors have actually said, these officials who we inherited are actually taking a huge chunk of our money. And it is true. So you're looking to run a lean county because I believe this is what makes sense anywhere around the world. Lean administrations, lean governments, they tend to do more than where you have governments that are hogged on by people. You have no idea who's doing what or what is doing who. So there has to be a decision made on this. And I know it may sound bad, but somebody at the end of the day must do something. Because if you are still talking about counties getting about between 20% to 30% and increasing it to 45%, where are you going to leave the officials on this, or who are there on the former or different administrations.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it will shine. It will also shine a negative image, if you will, when you start talking about the fundings that the counties require, and still holding on to them to continue with those officials that they inherited. I still see a lot of governors having a very hard time. But back to it, what does it do to the national to the national budget?
And I was looking for this because the Commission has proposed that the county governments be allocated 335.7 billion as a conditional fund to be shared on the basis of the latest approved formula, which the formula takes into account population, 45%, land area 8%, poverty 18%, basic equal share 26%, fiscal responsibility 2%, and development factor, which is 1%.
Population, we go back to population. You know, we had a very big
population,
debate about
45%. That's
45%.
Quite huge.
Now you see the reason why politicians were asking people to go register back in their home counties. You remember?
Now it makes all sense.
Now it makes perfect sense. But then again, it will be unbalanced, Zainab, if me and you, we go to our respective counties to register there during the census. That county gets money, and then we come back to Nairobi. What are we doing to a county where we are living, where we are staying? What does that tell you? You know? So I think as much as that formula makes sense, I think we should keep it away from politicians and the way they want, they want to take that narrative. It is, it is incrementally becoming almost like a political debate, rather than that of accountability and being able to understand what does this county need. And I think, Zainab, that should be the conversation.
It should be the need of the county.
What are the needs of this county? What is their strategic plan? You as a county leadership, where do you want to see this county in the next 5 years? I told you our major problem is that we do not see after an election. We don't see there. Every leader that I've seen trying to talk about development, they only try to achieve, the development
and that's why most
vision.
of the revenue then ends up into the recurrent expenditure.
Exactly. And they're like, you know what? I only see where the election will be. I don't know whether I'll be re-elected. But counties, whether you have the same leadership or you'll bring in new leadership, county boards really should actually be strengthened because they'll oversee many administrations. For instance, if your county board is very strong and you do not have that political element that we like playing through and through, you will serve several governors. One governor may come and tell you, I have a vision of this particular county for the next 20 years. Everybody should be on that particular bus to ensure if it's making sense, if it's a vision that will uplift the status and the welfare of that particular county, you support it to the hilt.
Right.
That is how you build devolution. As a matter of fact, Zainab, that is how you build countries. When you foresee years, or you foresee a longer term than your service.
All right.
Or the service that you'll give to a particular leadership position that you're serving.
Okay.
So that, I believe, is what makes sense to me. Whether it's in the counties, whether it's in the national government, you have a plan for the next 40, 50 years. This is what we want to
achieve.
Right.
Let's talk about the regional economic blocks and their impact on the Kenyan economy. Is it viable? Can we actually achieve this?
Honestly, if they are not going to sap in or take a lot of resources, they are very viable. You know why?
Wouldn't this be detrimental to devolution in itself?
I don't think so, unless we play politics again. No. You see, everything that we do as a country does not really need to have political connotations.
But it appears it always has.
And I don't know why. Regional blocks, and this is an example I like giving. Look at a place like Nyanza, where you have a county like Kisumu, you have Kakamega, you have, the neighboring counties. These are counties that can come together and say, what big development do you have that you can complement? For instance, you may have a governor one time who comes and says, you know what, we are doing well as a county, we need an airport in Kakamega. Why do you need one? Kisumu already has an airport, Eldoret has an airport. What can you do to complement these counties? You see, it makes more sense when you look at grand projects. You can say, you can build this project, which we will sap into. We can do another major project. You can do another major project, be it dams. There are so many, you can have dams actually shared within counties. So when you're talking about mega projects and mega developments, this is where the regional blocks will come in.
Comes in very perfectly.
Oh, amazing, amazing. Because it will tell you, Zainab, instead of you doing this, concentrate on milk production. We concentrate on maize farming or sugar farming.
Then we complement each other.
And then we complement each other. By the way, when they started, many people did not see that sense into it, but now they make perfect sense. And if only Zainab would divorce politics from the original blocks, I believe we'll be heading in the right direction.
But some are actually opposed to it. That's it.
Again, it is because you do not see how well they can sit in. Why would a county like Muranga now start doing serious coffee? Yes, they do. They have, parcels of land where they grow coffee. Why can they not allow Kiambu to be the giant in coffee, and then they do another agricultural activity that will complement? Okay. When it comes to that, when it comes to the complementary way of governance, it will make sense. Anything else that is political, I can guarantee you, Zainab, you will not see the sense of it.
It will not make sense.
Totally.
Let's talk about the youth who are the youth, the backbone of the legislation when it comes to the legislation, of course, the devolution as well. Do you think the young legislators that we have are living up to the expectations of the youth that they do represent?
No, what I actually want our youth to do, mostly the youth that are actually now getting into power, into legislative seats like the MCA, these county boards, and even the CECs. What probably I would pray for our youth is to start getting it right. And I'm just hoping as they get it right, they will run away from this wastage of what we talked about. Trips.
Because then the young leader from Busia, remember, let me just point that to you, he said what they're suffering from, and most county governments are suffering from, is the pilferage from the previous counties.
Thank you.
And the previous county administration. And that is what, there's such a huge debt that you have to pay that debt, but so there's no money that you can put aside for development. So that hinders a lot in terms of their...
justifiably so. And that's why I said, as either the government or the counties, one must bite the bullet. And I'm not saying this in any way, shape or form, but for you to create a lean administration that will work better, as has been proven through research and other modalities, you must come up with something. You see, you remember back in the day when we used to call it a golden handshake, you must do something that will balance off. You cannot continue having people, like you had somebody saying, these people are very corrupt. And it is true. It is true. It has actually been, been seen as such. We are not seeing what they are bringing onto the table. We just inherited them because they were in the previous government.
Do you think these young legislators understand their role?
I think they
do. Or
is
it just about getting richer?
I think they do, but they need to get it right. But we have a huge talent in our youth. Then that's why I keep insisting they must get it right. For them to walk away from this, allowances that don't make sense, a youth can do that. And they can only do it when they understand their purpose of their service. Is for them to know that I have a specific period of time to serve in this seat that the people have honored me to serve, and then after that I go continue with my career. Making, that's why I've always run away from politics as a career. I don't see how you can make politics your career. I know there are so many people who say they are career politicians, but I still doubt you can have politics as your career. Do it, finish. When your time comes, move. To me, politics and being given a service to serve, it's really an honor. Just like the way we elect a president. After 10 years, they go. Governors, after 10 years, after serving your 2 terms, you go. But you cannot make that you being a governor is your career. No. Serve your time. Do it well, diligently. Leave a mark. Leave a legacy. When the time comes, take off with peace and go now do other things or your career now. Go, immerse yourself into your career. So, Zainab, I need our youth to get it right.
All right.
And for them to get it right is them knowing the duty and the service and why they have been placed there by the Mwananchi. If they start getting that right, car grants notwithstanding, it's a grant, and you've had somebody say, we have a system where we can give them grants, and within 5 years, most of them have been able to finish on their grants. If that be the case, allow them. Let them have, that car grant. If it's not only, fulfilling for them to at least know that I'm also working hard for my people, let them have that car grant. They are going to pay it back, If it's something that they are just taking from Mwananchi and misusing it and they are not paying it back, then probably we could have a conversation. But if it's a grant that's within the confines of the law, let them have it, and they are paying it within a certain, a prescribed period of time, give it to them. But one thing we must continue preaching to our youth is that they must get it right.
Must get it right. All right, I understand we also have Bernardo Juang, who is in Migori County. We did lose him at some point, but we have him back. We understand that the workers are on a standstill. Workers have gone on a strike at the Sony Sugar Company, and which has led to the operations being paralyzed at that sugar company, and that the factory has now been shut for 2 weeks now. Bernard, what is the situation right now? All right, before we get Bernard, of course, just to give you an update on the same is the fact that the Sony Sugar Company has faced a number of challenges, including a workers' strike that has affected the company, which has seen it shut down for the past 2 weeks. Farmers and the employees from the sugar company are saying that they are actually demanding for payment over the past few months. Bernard, I understand we've gotten you back. What is the situation on the ground?
Well, thank you very much. The situation is not that good because workers here and even farmers here are here. They are demanding their pay. Remember, over 2,000 employees here are demanding close to 100 million shillings. They are saying that they have been having a closed-door meeting. The union leaders have been having a closed-door meeting with the management of Sony Sugar, but it is now turning fruitless. And of course, we've been seeing cases whereby farmers have been requesting this company be handed over to county government, saying that privatizing it will bring a lot of problems here. So one being many youths here will be losing their jobs. And currently, I'll just speak to some of the employees just to tell us the current situation. Are they going back to work? Join me here. You are here demanding your payment. For how long have you been going without payments?
Yes, I'm Samuel Igongo. I'm a worker at Sony Sugar Company for over 25 years. We started demanding for our salaries from last year, in August last year. We've started having this problem immediately. Mr. Bernardo came into management of this company. He has taken over the management of this company, and he's the managing director, he's the finance manager, he's the culture manager. He's taking everything. He's not giving the departmental heads time to manage their departments. And therefore, this problem has really persisted from August, and it became worse from January. And we've not had our pay from January. We are paid some money in February. The permanent staff, the casuals also paid some 5,000, just like a token. So we are demanding the salaries for February for the contracted staffs and other allowances. We're also demanding the March pay for the permanent staff. Management have not earned their salaries from supervisory to management.
We are made to understand that you are having a meeting with the management. What was it all about, the meeting?
The meeting, we've had several meetings, but the meeting going on now is between union officials. Mr. John Otieno Gutu and his team are meeting the board of governors, I mean the board of management, the directors of Sony Sugar Company, and we are yet to hear from them. After that, we shall come back to this thing. Another issue I'd wish to point out very strongly is that we are resisting this company being privatized. This company was brought here to offer economic empowerment to the people of this area, to offer employment to the youth and those who are going out of school.
Well, thank you very much.
And at this time, if it is privatized, the farmers have no money. The farmers have been strained; they're not being paid their money. The workers also have no money because their salaries have not been paid.
Well, thank you very much.
So we shall not be able to buy shares.
Well, thank you very much. I'll speak to the last person here. What do you think? You've just heard from the employees there saying that you as farmers, do you think privatizing this company will help you as farmers?
No, I'm Evans Felix Otieno. The issue of private is not going to help the Sony. What we want the management to be changed, especially the managing director, Mr. Bernard Otieno, and his finance manager, Mr. Peter Otieno. We want them to be out completely with this company because they have failed us. Even we as farmers, we have not been paid from November up to date.
You are saying that you want this company handed over to county government. Do you think it's going to help you?
Yes, if it can be handed over to the county government, we can allow that. But if it can go to the privatization, we are disputing that. We don't want it.
Well, thank you very much. You've just heard from our farmers there and also workers there. They are saying that they want this company be handed over to county government. And of course, they are saying that they are demanding their payment. Some of them have been going up to 4 months without pay. And of course, they have their pay. They have their children they are taking care of. They have their bills they are paying. And they are saying that they will not go back to work until they get their pay. And of course, we'll be here. We are waiting for the Migori County Governor, Zachary Kotobado, who will also be addressing them here so as to know more about their demands. And also, we'll be here, we'll be getting more information, we'll be interacting them so as for our subsequent bulletins. Back to you.
All right, thank you so much, Bernardo Juang there from Migori, just giving us an update on the situation on the ground there. We'll be linking up with him later on, like he says in our subsequent bulletins. We also will be joining our Kennedy Mureithi in just a moment to give us an update on the ongoing summit, the 4th annual legislative summit, which is happening in Kisumu. But here in studio, Gabriel, the conversation continues, and there's something that I was asking you while we took a break. Is there a difference between the regional economic blocks and what the opposition leader Raila Odinga had proposed when it comes to a 3-tier government, and how do they correlate?
Well, like I told you, personally I don't think you need to add another tier in governance. But what needs to be the thing we should all be looking forward to when you talk about the economic bloc is the principal objective of realizing, the economic sustenance of that particular bloc. Adding any other tier of government, you're talking about more resources being put towards setting up structures. Zainab, we don't need to set up structures again. What we need to do is have governors, or leaders within a particular bloc coming together and saying, we need to understand your economic plan, your strategic plan, your development plan as a region, so that we can complement you, or we can complement each other in this particular block for us to do more with less.
What Odinga was said during the devolution conference earlier on when it happened in Kirinyaga, he said some of the counties under the current devolution system were uncompetitive due to population size and other related factors. Hence, the need to form those regional governments, which he said would be more economically viable.
You still don't need, I really don't need, or don't see a need of creating another tier, of governance, because my worry is that tier will have who will be running that that particular tier, you must look for a political seat which will create political relevance. You must start the politics side. And again, it becomes an issue of politicization again. But when you have elected leaders who've already been elected, coming together and saying, we need to understand the economic weight or the economic power of our region. Let us sit down and draw up a plan of how our counties within this particular block, 4 or 3, will realize more. When you're even when you're talking about producers, you don't have to actually export anything outside the country. You can say we can actually have a way to even balance our wealth with other counties. There are so many things we can do through inter-counties. We can sell and buy and
within
just create,
the inter-county.
Within those blocks. We can bring maize from this particular block and fish from this particular. Exactly. So you are doing this without creating another tier of government, but you are still being able to continue on a speedy growth and trajectory of a very viable, economic a setup. And that's what I think governors should start weighing in on. And by the way, so many countries, I think, who have done that have actually been able to, to rise to greater heights. America is a case in example. So many states are able, to come together and form, economic units. Saying what must we do? What do we need this when our neighbor, our neighboring state is doing this? Are we able to complement them? And on the other hand, they come and buy things from us. Such kind of thinking. So I'm still not sold into the idea of building another tier of regional governments, if you will. But that element of sitting down, but governance within a particular area or blocks coming together and looking for economic sustenance within their counties, that works better.
All right. Gabriel, very quickly as we wind up, is there's a conversation that we can never really avoid when it comes to the state of corruption in the country. And remember, a lot of money is also lost within at the county level. Are we heading to the right direction? Are we going to slay this dragon?
You see, if we don't, Zainab, where corruption has gotten us, if we do not slay it, and we do it quickly, we will not have any devolution left. Counties will disappear, trust me.
This is going to kill devolution.
Oh, totally. If you're talking about not having a government with this kind of corruption, what gives you the impression that we'll have counties? They won't survive, And to me, that's why I think the discussions I've been having, and when you look at matters governance, when corruption comes into play, it actually disintegrates everything else. No development. Look at a country like Kenya is still suffering from the ruins of hunger. 30 years later, when other countries started getting it right, countries like Tunisia, Egypt, Morocco, we are still talking about our education system not in the right, place. We cannot be able, to sustain the economic growth that we hoped we would be able to. All this because of what we are calling corruption. Our debt is growing by the day. We are not producing as we should. We are still importing even a lot of food items. So we need to attack this cancer of corruption and ensure that we have put systems in place, and not only systems in place. I've always argued, Zainab, people become corrupt because they can get away with it. Not the fact that we don't have strong penal codes. We just need to act on the corrupt, period.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Gabriel Muduma, our political analyst this morning. And this is where we end our conversation, but it does not end. Salim Swale will be coming right up your way with NTV Sasa. We'll also be focusing entirely on that legislative summit, the 4th annual legislative summit that is happening in Kisumu. We understand the president might or might not make it to that particular event. And this is where we wrap up NTV today. Thank you so much for being part of the conversation and also our social media platforms. My name is Zainab Ismail. Good morning.